Let me turn it down.
Judge, are all the speakers working okay? I'm sorry. The speakers in the courtroom?
Yeah.
Okay. The state will call its first witness if the court is ready.
The court is ready.
State calls Deputy Kyle Fangman to the stand.
Yeah. Good morning, Deputy Fangman. Go ahead and have a seat.
Okay.
Sir, I'm going to go ahead and swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Deputy Fangman, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving these proceedings will be the truth?
I do.
All right. And, sir, for the record, can you please give me your first name and last name and spell them?
First name's Kyle, K-Y-L-E. Last name is Fangman, F as in Frank, A-N-G-M-A-N.
All right. You may proceed.
Mr. Fangman, I'm going to ask you to speak up.
Okay.
Now, you've stated your first and last name for the jury, correct?
Correct.
How are you employed?
I'm a deputy sheriff with Tama County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been with the Tama County Sheriff's Office as a deputy sheriff?
I've been with Tama since December of 2019.
Can you tell us briefly, or tell the jury briefly, about your education, your training, and your experience to be in the position that you are?
I was hired as a law enforcement officer with Boone County in September of 2009. I graduated from the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy in December of 2009 and was employed with Boone County until coming to Tama in December of 2019.
Are you a licensed peace officer in the state of Iowa?
I am.
As a deputy sheriff or as a law enforcement officer, what have been some of your duties or responsibilities in those years that you've worked in this field?
I've been assigned to patrol, so I'm a day-to-day patrol deputy, so responding to 911 calls, traffic accidents, traffic enforcement.
Fair to say that you've responded to multiple calls or multiple instances where people need some form of aid in one way or another?
Yes.
On the morning of June 18th, 2021, were you on duty?
Yes.
At some point in the early hours of that morning, were you dispatched to an address on K Avenue in Traer, Iowa?
I was.
Can you tell the jury what address you were dispatched to?
It was in the 1800 block of K Avenue. It was just north of Highway 63.
So is it fair to say 1846 K Avenue,
Correct.
Traer, Iowa?
Yes.
Now, around what time were you dispatched to this address?
It was approximately 4:39 in the morning.
And can you just, for the benefit of this jury being from a different county, from Tama, can you just orient them to what highway, what we're talking about, where this residence is, in proximity to the highway or roadway?
So when I was dispatched, I was in the city limits of Traer, and I went south out of Traer on Highway 63, continued on 63 until the intersection of K and Highway 63. It took me about 3 minutes to arrive on scene.
So when you were dispatched, was another deputy also dispatched with you?
Yes, I was working with Deputy Foster at that time, and he was dispatched as well.
What information did you have or receive prior to arrival to this residence?
Dispatch struggled to get a lot of information to me because of the screaming on the 911 call. It was loud enough you could actually hear it while they were dispatching me through their radios. It sounded like someone had been shot, and there was a lot of blood. They received a second call from a male caller that said he was called to that residence as well.
So as you're driving over or as you're leaving, you can hear the communication or the communication from your radio as you're driving over?
Correct.
And what you hear is just a screaming or some crying female?
Yeah, it's fairly unusual to hear the actual caller in the background. Usually their headsets cancel it out, but not in this case.
You said you took about 3 minutes to get there.
Correct.
And what direction were you driving to get there again?
I left Traer south, and then that road curves instantly and goes west.
It was early hours in the morning. Did you, as you drive there, do you see any vehicle or anything that appears suspicious, either speeding away from these residents?
Not that I recall.
Now, just for the sake of timeline, do you recall the time that you arrived at the residence?
It was approximately 4:42 in the morning.
Permission to approach the witness?
You may. Counsel, these haven't been admitted yet, have they? So, you may. Strawbaker, if you want to move to another chair to maybe to the left of Mr. Ringel somehow, if you want to be able to see.
proceed.
Whenever you're ready.
By agreement of the parties, we're going to move to admit the one on the extreme left from where I'm sitting. It's 310, 311, and 312 state exhibits.
All right, then, states exhibits
310.
310, 11, and 12 are now admitted.
So are you able to see what's been marked on my far left as 310, the middle 311, and my far right as 312?
I can see 310 and 11 fine. 12, I can see the majority of it.
Now, when looking at 310 and 311, can you help the jury understand what 310 and 311 that they're seeing, the first two, what that would be?
Yep, those are aerial photographs I took with the drone. The one on the far left is of the home and two outbuildings that sit north of the home. The one in the middle is a full overview of the acreage. On the left is Highway 63, and that's running east-west. The road at the bottom of the photo is K Avenue that runs north-south. And then the house is the far left. The two buildings on the right were there at the time of this incident. The large building, kind of right in the middle, was not there at the time this incident happened. Sitting there was building supplies, I assume, to build that building.
Now, when you pull in the driveway, can you describe to the jury what you see?
There was at least two trucks sitting in the driveway. The one furthest away from the house was running with the flashers on, and I parked kind of behind that one.
Did you later determine whose truck that was?
I didn't at the time, no.
Okay. Now, there was two trucks, so do you remember the color of the trucks?
The one closest to where I parked was white. I believe there was a red one in front of that.
Okay. So the white one was the one that appeared to be either running with the flashers on or had its flashers or hazard signs on.
Yep, it definitely had the flashers on. I believe it was running, but I'm not entirely sure.
How do you enter this residence?
When I walked up, you can see the garage doors are on the north side, and there was a walk-through door there that I assume just went to the garage, so I tried to the next door to the south that opened into the kitchen.
So you entered through a kitchen door?
Yeah, it opened to like a small landing, and then the kitchen was to the right when you stepped in.
What do you see once you enter this kitchen door?
There's a male that met me at the end of the kitchen that he informed me his brother was dead, and then we walked through the rest of the house to where Ryan was.
Okay. So you see someone who you identify as a male,
Yes,
and he tells you that his brother is dead.
yes.
Do you see this male? Is he dressed? What's his condition?
He's sitting upright in a recliner.
You know, before you go to the dead party, the guy who tells you that his brother is dead, can you describe him briefly?
He's white male. He's wearing like pajama style pants. He was shirtless.
Did you later identify who this was?
Yeah, I recognized him as Aaron Cooper.
So you knew Aaron Cooper?
Yeah, through his time in the Traer Fire Department.
Okay. So Aaron Cooper was a firefighter?
Yes.
So when you talk to Aaron Cooper, he tells you his brother is dead. What do you do next?
As I entered the kitchen, I could hear a female screaming from the other end of the house, and that ended up being the living room where Ryan was, and she was laying on top of him in the chair.
So the female screaming was laying on top of someone on the chair?
Yes.
Tell us more what you see. Give the jury an understanding of who she's laying on top of.
She was laying on top of Ryan. When she got up off him, I could see that she was covered in blood. I tried asking her what was going on. She was just screaming that she needed an ambulance. And then I had Ryan remove her from the room so I could actually see what was going on.
So did you mean to say Aaron?
Or yeah, sorry, Aaron.
Okay. So you see the female, she is sitting on top of Ryan Cooper.
Correct.
Does Ryan Cooper appear to be dead or alive?
Yes, he appeared to be deceased.
And you talked about observing this female. You said she was covered in blood.
Yes,
Did you identify who this female was?
it was Karina Cooper.
That person that you saw covered in blood sitting on top of Ryan Cooper, who you identified as Karina Cooper, is that person in this courtroom today?
She is.
Can you identify that person by an item of her clothing where she's sitting?
Yep, she's sitting on the defense side with a gray sweater on with a black undershirt.
Your Honor, we'll ask that the record reflect identification.
The record so reflects.
She was sitting, what you've said, she was sitting on Ryan Cooper. Was she laying on him? Can you describe what you're seeing?
She was just kind of laying against him. She was sitting on his lap. She had her face against his chest, and she was just kind of curled up there, I guess, laying on her side.
Rubbing her face in him at that point?
Correct.
As you make these observations, do you observe that there are also children in this house or in this room?
Yes, there were 3 children in the house. As we left the kitchen and walked towards the living room, there's a bedroom on the right, and there was at least 2 of them that were standing in the doorway there. And then as I walked past, they followed us out.
Were you able to identify these children?
They were the children of Ryan and Karina.
Do you know their names? Were you able to find their names at some point?
I did. I don't recall what they are because in my reports, everything's by their initial.
Fair enough to say this is a very chaotic scene as you find it at that time?
Yes.
And is it fair to say because she is still crying and wailing?
Yeah, it was hard to get any information from anybody with her in there screaming.
Does she tell you anything? What happened? Does she tell you what's going on?
If I recall, all she said was she was just wondering where the ambulance was and they needed help.
What was Aaron Cooper able to tell you?
After Aaron took her out of the room,
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Sustained.
Judge, I believe presence, impression, and excited utterances will cover that at that point.
Right. Counsel want to approach. So, Mr. Hawbaker, my understanding is that the objection is withdrawn. Is that correct?
That's fine, Your Honor, yes.
All right.
Do you remember the question?
you're asking the information I got from Aaron?
Yeah.
So after Aaron took Karina outside, he came back in and he had told me he had gotten a series of calls from Karina just a few minutes before I was dispatched that there was someone in the house that Ryan had been shot, but he said it was mostly just screaming as well.
So the information that he received from Karina was mostly screaming and that there was someone in the house.
Correct.
Now, let's talk then about, at that time, what are your duties? Are you trying to determine what had just occurred?
Yes.
So what do you do next?
I began looking at Ryan, trying to determine if it was something medical related, if it could have been gunshots, basically trying to determine what actually happened.
So let's talk about your observations then at that point. Karina, the defendant has left, you've taken her out of Ryan. Did that take some time to just even get her off Ryan?
Yeah, just a few seconds.
Okay. Do you make an observation of Ryan Cooper?
Yep, I saw injuries to the left side of his face, in front of his ear on like the cheekbone. There's a indentation, and then in front of that there was 2 small holes, and then there's blood.
So you see a lot of blood.
Yes.
Do you see blood also on the floor?
Yep, there's a large pool of blood on it'd be his left side of the recliner. There's blood all over the front of his shirt, coming out of his nose, his ears.
Let's talk about that. Was there something about the blood that appeared of note to you?
In the large pool to the left of the chair, I noticed that there was swipes taken out of it, like someone could have stepped in it or slid in it, and then it appeared that it was coagulating.
Can you tell the jury what that word coagulating would mean to you?
Coagulating is clotting.
Like clotting?
Yes.
Okay. As an officer, as a deputy, you've worked in cases, as you've told the jury, that where you respond to accidents or scenes of violence where there is blood, correct?
Correct.
So, based on that experience, you can tell blood that appears to be clotting.
Yes.
Did you observe what is referred to as blood spatter in that living room?
Yes, on it'd be the east wall of the living room, there's blood splatter on that wall, on the door, and then the wall behind the recliner, there was blood splatter as well.
Now, you talked about what appeared to be signs of movement or disturbance of the blood by something like a swipe on the blood.
Correct.
At that point, are you concerned that there might be a firearm in the scene that you need to either secure or find?
Yes.
Do you see any firearm around Ryan Cooper at that time?
No.
Was that something you're looking for?
Yes.
Do you find a firearm at the scene?
Yes.
Or in the house?
Yep. Initially, I found being a 9mm Smith & Wesson Shield. It was sitting on, I don't remember if it was like a buffet type table or just an end table in the hallway between where the bedroom and the bathroom is.
And when you find this Smith & Wesson 9mm, what do you do with it?
I cleared it and left it sit where it was. It was photographed, and then later it was placed in my patrol car.
Did the weapon that you found have any ammunitions in its?
Yes, there was 1 in the chamber. There was 6 in the magazine, and the magazine held 7.
Were you able to determine who this weapon belonged to?
I later found out it belonged to Aaron.
So that time you don't know, but you later find out that it belonged to Aaron Cooper?
Correct.
And did you find out that he brought it with him based on the phone call that he'd received?
Correct.
Were there other firearms found in the house?
Deputy Foster and I found one later. It was in a bedroom safe.
Can you tell us what firearm we found at the bedroom safe?
It was an LC 380.
Okay, and those are the type of the firearm? Is
Yep,
it
that's the model of the firearm. I believe it's a Ruger.
a Ruger handgun?
Yes.
Okay. Did you find out who this firearm belonged to?
That was Karina claimed that one.
Okay. So Karina told you or told you that in a bedroom the 380 would be a firearm that belonged to her.
She told Deputy Foster that there was a firearm in the safe.
When was there any other firearm that you found?
No.
Was there a firearm found in Ryan's truck, or was that a different officer who found that?
That was found later on in the day with a search warrant, I believe.
Okay. So later on in the day, you do find a firearm in Ryan Cooper's truck.
I don't believe I found it, but I know there was one found there.
Okay. Back to the recliner where Ryan Cooper lies dead. Did you search around, or did one of the officers search around to see if there was a firearm?
If there's what?
If there was a firearm,
Yes.
was there any firearm found on the recliner or around Ryan Cooper?
No.
As you're making your observations in the house and where Ryan Cooper has been shot dead, do you see any observations of bullet holes or any signs of broken entry around that part?
No.
You talked about the children in this house, correct?
Yes.
At some point, and you talked about them being present in this place with this excitement and what had just happened, correct?
Correct.
In fact, when you're talking to the children, they have to be shepherded out of the living room where their dad lies dead and to a different room, correct?
Correct. When I saw that two had followed us into the room, I asked them to go back into the bedroom and shut the door. And
Do you remember what they were trying to tell their mother as she's screaming?
say that again?
Do you remember what they were trying to tell their mother as she's screaming?
Sustained.
Tell the jury the demeanor of these children. In other words, did they appear upset, trying to console their mother?
Yeah, I believe it was the oldest one. I think was crying, and I know was talking to somebody, but I don't know who it was or what he was telling them.
And if I told you the oldest one's name is Cade, does that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Did you talk to Cade and ask him what happened?
Yeah, after Aaron removed him from the house, they were sitting in Aaron's truck, and I talked to him then.
What did he tell you?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
May I respond?
You may.
Excited utterance, present sense impression.
You want to approach? Objection is overruled.
So do you want me to repeat the question or you recall the question?
Nope, I recall it. Kate informed me that he was sleeping upstairs at the time of the incident. He remembers hearing footsteps and a thud, but couldn't recall if there was an actual gunshot that he heard or not.
Did he tell you that his sleeping arrangements had been changed days prior to the killing of Ryan Cooper?
That's sustained.
Did he tell you what he did as he ran downstairs and what happened in regards to when he saw his dad?
Overruled.
He said he went over to where his dad was and he slipped in the blood.
So he told you that he slipped in his dad's blood?
Correct.
As you're walking the scene, you talked about another deputy coming. Did that deputy arrive as you're there at the scene?
Yeah, I believe he arrived 4 minutes after I was on scene.
And just to remind the jury, what was the name of that deputy?
Deputy Travis Foster.
Talked about Ryan Cooper dead on a recliner. Can you give the jury an orientation? Was there a door close to him where his recliner was?
Yeah, there's a door just to the left of where the chair was.
Okay. A living room door?
Yes,
Did that door appear closed to you when you looked at it?
it was closed.
That door was closed.
Correct.
So the recliner door is just very close to the living room door, and that door was closed when you got there.
Correct.
Let's talk about some actions that you took when you have other officers and other people responding to help Ryan Cooper. Do you collect phones at the scene?
I did.
What phones did you collect?
I collected Karina's phone and Ryan's phone.
Okay, so you collected the defendant's phone and Ryan Cooper's phone.
Correct.
When you found the defendant's phone, was there something of note that you observed with the phone?
It was sitting on the right arm of the recliner. When I picked it up, there was messages coming through that popped up on the home screen there, people offering their condolences.
So by the time you're picking the phone has messages of condolences.
Correct.
When you are looking at the phone, do you notice whether it's flashlight up on the flashlight is on the phone?
The flash, did I just hear an echo or did someone object? Something weird popped up. Nothing? Okay. The phone was down, so the flashlight was against the chair and the flashlight was on.
So it appeared that someone had turned the flashlight on.
Correct.
Fair enough to say the room that you're in was a fairly darker living room?
Yes, it was dark.
And you said it kept chiming with messages of condolences.
Correct.
Now, did you take any photographs at the scene?
I did.
On the record, we have our jurors, counsel, and parties present, and you may resume your direct examination.
Thank you, Judge. Permission to approach this witness?
You may. And you don't need to ask any more with your witness.
Thank you. So, before I approach, I think we left off when I asked you whether you took pictures as part of your investigation at this scene.
Yes.
When you're taking, and as you said, as you're taking pictures on your prior testimony, at that point you really don't know what has happened. Fair enough to say that?
Correct.
Other than you have Ryan Cooper dead, he has blood all over him, you can't find the firearm, correct?
Correct.
Why do you take pictures as officers?
Say that again?
Why do you take pictures?
So we can document the scene.
And as part of your job as an officer, do you normally have a department-issued body camera that records your interactions with people or when you go to a scene of a crime?
A body camera?
Yeah.
Yes,
Were you having a body camera on that day?
I did.
And did it document your interaction at this scene on that particular day?
Yes.
Going to show you what's been marked as State Exhibit 104 through 115 for the purposes of identification. So, have you had a chance to look at State Exhibit 104 through 115?
I have.
Does 104 through 115 accurately depict observations or pictures that you would have taken either stills from your body cam or pictures that you took on that particular night?
Yeah, they're all pictures I took except a couple of these Deputy Foster took.
But the ones that Deputy Foster took, do they fair and accurately depict the scene as you saw it that early morning?
Yes.
This point will move to admit 104 through 115 into evidence.
Mr. Rob Baker, if you want to come on up, I'll hand them to you. Yep. All right, with no objection, State's Exhibits 104 through 115 are admitted.
We'll move at this point to publish 104 through 115 to the jury.
All right, I think I can. They've moved to this TD screen rather than the big, so I don't know. You may. Don't know. Let's try. I haven't touched anything that would turn that on or off. So let's go off the record here for a second. All right, back on the record. I think we've got the... All right, you may resume your questioning.
Thank you. State Exhibit 104. Can you describe to the jury what you're saying in State Exhibit 104?
That's a picture of Ryan sitting in the recliner.
Is that the recliner that you found the defendant on top of him when you arrived?
Correct.
What do we see behind him? Is that the door? There's a door with the glass middle of it. Is that the door that you said you observed that was closed?
Correct.
And that's what you'll describe as the living room door?
Correct.
Let's go to State Exhibit 105. Can you tell the jury what we're seeing in 105?
Yeah, it's just a picture of the right side of Ryan's face and upper shoulder and chest area.
You talked about the nature of the blood that you observed when you got to Ryan. Can you describe what we're seeing in terms of that?
The shirt is covered in blood. The darker parts are all staining from where the blood had soaked to.
Will you describe this blood that was on him at some point in his shoulders as appearing to be chunky?
Correct.
And based on your time of arrival, this would have been shortly after 4:42 in the morning.
Correct.
What we're seeing is what you'll describe as the right side of his face.
Correct.
Did you see anything that appeared to be injuries on his right side of the face?
No, just the blood out of the nose on that side.
The nature of the blood that was coming or that you're observing, was it confusing to you in the sense of his whole face appeared to be covered in blood?
There was quite a bit of blood, yes.
So even on the left side of his face, which didn't appear to have any injuries or any wounds, there appeared to be blood that was smeared on the left side of his face.
Right side?
On the right side of his face, sorry.
Yes, right side.
Is
Correct.
that fair?
Correct.
Showing you what's been admitted as State Exhibit 106.
Correct.
Can you tell the jury what we're seeing in 106?
That's showing the large pool of blood that was on the floor. And then the center of it, you can see the line kind of right through the middle of it is where it was smeared from someone stepping in it.
So you see what appears to be a smear in this pool of blood, and what also called on the far front of the picture, fair to say you see something that appears to be like footprints.
Yep, bare footprints.
You describe the blood. Is this part of the blood that you're observing that appeared also to be coagulating
Yes,
or coagulated?
correct.
Showing you 107. Can you walk the jury through what we see in 107?
This is the left side of the chair. You can see the blood has run down the side of the recliner, and it's documenting the injuries that are on the left side of the face.
So we see blood on the recliner that seems to pull and go down on the left side of the recliner.
Correct.
And for us to zoom it, can you see that better?
Yes,
Are those later what you determined appeared to be what will be bullet or gunshots on his face?
correct.
So at some point in your investigation, you later determined that.
Correct.
But that's when you testified earlier that that's the side of his face, this is the left side of his face that has appeared to be injured.
Correct.
Showing you what has been admitted as State Exhibit 108. Can you tell the jury what we're seeing?
Yes, that's the handgun that I found when I first entered the house. That's the Smith & Wesson 9mm.
This is the gun that you determined later that belonged to Aaron Cooper, Ryan Cooper's brother.
Correct.
Showing you what's been admitted as 109, and I could zoom it up for you. Can you tell the jury why you took this picture or why one of your officers took this picture?
That picture showing blood that was on that wall.
And is that part of your testimony that there appeared to be what's called blood spatter?
Correct.
It's been admitted as 110. Can you tell the jury what we see with 110?
Yes, that's the east wall of the living room, the door, the light switch, and then there's blood splatter on that wall as well.
Can you describe where you see the blood spatter for the jury?
It's the dots that are, there's one right on the light switch panel, and then there's a couple more between the window and the light switch, and I believe there's some below the light switch panel as well.
Is there blood on the floor?
There is, where the floor grate is, all that coloring there is blood.
And are there some blood that you can see or traces of blood that you can see on this door that leads into or out of the living room?
Correct.
Fair enough to say that 111 is another picture of a trace of blood on the wall.
Correct.
Can you tell us what you're seeing as you take 112?
That was after Ryan was moved to the floor. More blood ran out of the wounds, so photos were taken of that to document it.
Can you tell us what you observe on the nature of the wounds in terms of size, or from your training and experience as an officer who's fired weapons before? What do you see?
It's not a very large caliber. It'd be about the size of what like a pencil would be, give or take.
So a small caliber rifle or firearm was used to make those injuries?
Correct.
And you see what appears to be what you'll describe as entrance wounds?
Yes.
Two of them?
Yes.
Do you observe anything that appears to be exit wounds on Ryan Cooper's face?
No.
Fair enough to say 113 would be a different orientation of the same picture we've seen.
Correct.
Now, as you take it, his mustache, his blood flowing all over that part of his body.
Yes.
You did not observe any wounds or injuries on that part at that point.
Just around where the bullet wounds are.
And as you describe, the nature of this blood, again, if you look at his collar, is it drying or coagulating?
It's coagulating.
What do you see on 115?
That's a end table that's below the window that's on the east wall of the living room.
So below the window, closer to the door?
Yes.
What do we see there?
There's blood on the floor, and then there's looks like blood had run down the side of that table.
Again, the nature of the blood at this point is coagulated.
Correct.
Judge, if I may just have that up a little bit. If
I'm
I
sorry.
may have the TV on. When we look at 104, if we may have the lights dimmed, please. You talked about collecting a phone that had the flashlight on that belonged to Karina Cooper.
Yeah.
Are we able to see that on 104?
Yeah, it's the light that's on the right arm by like where his elbow's at.
So that's the phone that you collected that you said was receiving messages and had a flashlight on.
Correct.
And you determined that that phone belonged to Karina Cooper.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. Now, all this evidence that you collected, was there other law enforcement bodies that you invited or was invited in this investigation?
Repeat that.
Were there other law enforcement departments or bodies that were invited into this investigation?
Yes, we contacted the Sheriff Casera, Tama County. Our detectives were contacted, then we ended up contacting the DCI through the state.
Why was the DCI contacted?
It's just the
To,
state branch of the investigations.
was that to give you extra help because the nature of the investigation required more expertise and other people on the scene?
Correct.
Fair to say Tama County Sheriff's Office is not a very big department.
Correct.
Now, you talked about taking what's referred to as a body cam that you had in this investigation, correct?
Yeah.
You've had a chance to look at your body camera before you came to testify in this courtroom?
I did.
Fair and accurate that what it depicts in that body camera is what happened as you recorded that day?
Yes.
Deputy, I'm going to show you portions of that body camera. And this time, Your Honor, we're going to move to admit State Exhibit 102.
I'm sorry, 102?
Yes.
Any objection to admission of State's Exhibit 102?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then State's Exhibit 102 is admitted.
And we'll move to publish 102 with the permission of the court.
You may, and get that set up. Hold on. Just gotta get it. The camera must shut off if you're not used. If it's not used regularly. That one. Not working. Counsel, I think we're just going to be better off if you want, I mean, this keeps shutting on and off. I think we're going to be better off if we move the TV a little bit closer and publish that way rather than worrying about to move things along, worrying about that large screen. Maybe over the lunch hour you guys can get that figured out, but every time we turn it on, it appears to shut off. So. And again, Mr. Hawbaker, Ms. Watt, if you want to move around to observe, you're more than welcome to do that at any point. And your client as well. Ladies and gentlemen, can you see that okay? All right, I'm getting head nods from everybody, so. Whenever you're ready.
Jury's sake is that you're approaching, and those are the two vehicles that you've described as you approach this residence?
Correct.
Sheriff's office. Yep, come on. What's going on? My brother's dead. Were you here when this happened? What's that? He just called me. Ma'am. Ma'am, come talk to me, please. Ma'am, come talk. Come talk to me. Come talk to me. They're on their way.
We talked about the children that were here. Are those the children that you observe?
Yes.
Were you able to determine their ages?
Yes, the oldest was born in 2010, the middle one was 2012, and the youngest was 2016.
Ma'am, what happened?
When you're talking to her, you're asking, is that you asking what happened?
Yes.
And her response is, I don't know, I don't know.
Correct.
At that point, does she know that you're an officer, you're dressed in your department-issued uniform, and you're appearing as a deputy sheriff?
Yes.
So when she's saying, I don't know, she knows you're an officer?
Yes, I was in uniform.
Can you do anything with that? Granny, come with me. Granny, please come with me. Come with me. Come with me, please.
Mom, do this for me, okay?
Okay, boys.
With body cam, we can see the presence of a dog.
Yes.
Were you able to observe the dog?
Yes, it was laying on the floor when I first walked in.
Do you know what type of dog it was?
I'm not sure. It might have been a Rottweiler.
They're coming. Can you stay in here for me, boys? Yep, that's perfectly fine.
If you find it, shoot him in the head.
If I find who?
The person who did it.
Okay.
Who just talked to you at that point? Is it the eldest child?
Yes.
Okay. The one who you believe was born in 2010.
Correct.
If it tells you if you find him, shoot him in the head.
Yes.
Do you guys have security members like security? So people watching tonight,
What are you doing at that point, sir?
I was clearing the weapon.
Okay. Is that the weapon you've testified that you found that was in the on that?
Correct.
And you're clearing it because at that time you don't know if it's the weapon that's been used.
Correct.
Yep. Can you boys shut the door for me? Can you hang in there? I'll be right back with you, okay?
do you guys have like security to watch you?
Yep. County 10. It's 1079. Is 7 headed this way as well?
Yes, they're almost to your location now.
10-4. I haven't really been able to get any info from anybody on scene here.
County Direct, I was able to get the name of the subject, and also the name of your reporting party is Aaron, and he's a firefighter for that area, so your best bet.
The point you're making observations, you're talking to someone. Can you just tell the jury who you're talking to?
It's Tama County Dispatch.
Okay. So you are reporting you're there on the scene and trying to tell them or relay what you're observing or what's going on. Correct?
Correct.
Ten four.
723. County Direct, 446.
County 10.
8610.
Can you get a hold of the Emmy as well, please?
County Direct, do we know the circumstance?
Gunshot.
County Direct.
You kind of shined your light and you've walked through the rooms. Is that fair enough to say your testimony as you enter the kitchen? It's a mud room. There's a kitchen, right?
Correct.
And then can you just describe the jury where the bedroom is? To get to Ryan Cooper, how would someone need to move to get there?
I came through that door I did, through the kitchen. It opened into like that dining room-ish area. And then it turned into kind of a little hallway. To the left was a bathroom, to the right was bedrooms, and then he entered through into the living room.
Now, pause this video. Does the defendant give you any information over what really happened?
No, not to me.
I'll play another part of your video.
Listen, you need you to sit.
I'd
Come
say
outside.
that. Yeah, leave that there. Okay.
Come outside. Ma'am.
Can I talk with you?
That's a different deputy that we're seeing holding or grabbing onto the defendant.
Yes, that's Deputy Foster.
And that's Aaron Cooper without the shirt on, as you testified before.
Correct.
Somewhere.
Karina, I need you to come outside.
I don't know where a good
I need
spot
you to
is.
come outside.
You said your brother. Did she call you or how'd you?
She called me like that.
What's that?
She called me like that.
She called you like that?
Just somebody's in my house.
Mom, real quick.
Just a minute, buddy. She called you hysterical that he's been.
Somebody's in my house.
Somebody's in your house or in the house.
Somebody's in the house. Come hysterical.
Okay. How long did you get here before I did?
Doesn't even say much time.
Okay.
Called at 4:30.
Okay.
Then it hung up. Then I tried to call back. Got her back. Got the same thing from her. And
Okay.
I just live right down the 2 miles, a mile down the road.
Okay.
Fair enough to say from what we saw there is, you might turn on the lights. Deputy, fair enough from what we saw there, you talked to Aaron Cooper.
Yes.
You're getting a timeline,
Yes.
which is important in your investigation, correct?
Correct.
And you understand from Aaron Cooper that Karina called him at 4:30 a.m.
Correct.
And we talked about the house. Next part of your testimony, we're going to talk about it with the assistance of the next exhibit. Your Honor, by agreement of the parties. Agreement of the parties, the state will move to admit exhibit 313.
Any objection to 313, Mr. Hawbaker?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 313 is admitted.
We're going to move to publish 313.
.315, did you say?
313.
All right, you may. Kind of already has, but.
So I'm going to ask you to step down and just assist the jury. Your testimony, the permission of the court.
Yeah, why don't we turn on that microphone there? There we go. Should be good enough.
Please use the mic so that we can hear you well, but can you tell the jury as you approach again the door that you enter and how this house is oriented so that they can have an understanding of where you found and what you do?
Okay. I approached up the driveway. This is the first door I passed. I saw that it probably went just to the garage, so I continued on to the front door here.
If you can be a little loud. So the garage door, does it only go to the garage?
I don't know if there's another, I assume since it's attached, it probably opens up to the house, but I just saw there was garage, so I moved on to the next door.
Okay. So what door do you use to enter?
I went in this main front door, took a right to enter the kitchen, is where I met Aaron, and then he led me through this hallway where there's a bathroom on the right, and then bedroom 1 is where I told the kids to go into after I talked with them, and then we entered the living room.
So bedroom 1 would be the bigger bedroom, fair to say?
Yes.
And when you enter the living room, where we see that it's labeled Ryan Cooper, that's a recliner that Ryan Cooper was found executed on.
Yes.
There's concrete stairs. Is that the door that you've testified to that there was some blood spurting on that door?
Yes.
Thank you. You can sit. Have you investigated casing? I'll wait for you to sit. Have you investigated cases involving break-ins?
Yes.
As you're looking into this house, when you walk in, when you're making your observations, did you notice any signs of forced entry?
No.
What were you looking for?
Damage to the doors, damage to windows.
Did you notice any sign of an intruder in the house?
No.
Was any furniture in the room in a state of disarray or in a state of, like an intruder was in trying to burglarize the house?
No.
The door, you've talked about that door in the living room next to Ryan Cooper. Did you notice any signs of a forced entry on that door?
No.
Did the windows appear to have been broken into by an intruder, or they all appear to be intact as they are meant to be?
I believe they're all intact.
At some point in the process, is Ryan Cooper's body moved to the floor?
Yes.
What was the reason for that being done?
After EMS arrived, they were discussing it more as a potential medical issue than gunshots. So we moved him just to verify if there was a firearm that had slid beside him or underneath him. Or
Fair to say, because of the coagulated blood, it was hard for you first to initially find if it was a gunshot or not, correct?
correct.
And EMS, everyone was confused because of the nature of the blood.
They were confused by something. I don't know if it was the blood or if swelling or something changed that it looked different than when I first got there, I think.
So we moved him to the floor to be able to access.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
You may. Kodiaga, don't forget to turn your microphone on. Yep. And you may resume.
I'll move on to the next question.
You may.
We saw your video as you approach the scene, as you arrive on the scene, and as you see Karina Cooper on top of Ryan. When you saw her on top of Ryan Cooper, was she rendering any aid to Ryan Cooper?
No.
Was she attempting CPR?
No.
You see any behavior from her, like checking his pulse, checking how he's doing, whether he's breathing?
I'm an objection, Your Honor. This is leading, and it also calls for speculation. He can say to what he observed, not what the observations meant.
The objection's overruled.
Did you understand the question?
Yes, I didn't see anything like that from where I was standing.
Didn't see her checking his pulse.
No.
You seen anyone in a sign that you've responded to behaving the way she was?
No.
Why do you say that?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
The objection's overruled.
I've come across the screaming and the hysterics. I haven't seen anyone sitting on top of the deceased.
Covered in blood?
Correct.
Now, based on all your observations, did anything that you saw or in your investigation support the theory of an unknown?
Overruled.
Anything that you observed support a theory of an unknown intruder coming in and shooting Ryan?
No.
I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
Mr. Honebaker, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm just noting the time.
We'll go till noon.
Okay, thank you. All right. Morning, officer.
All right.
You've been in law enforcement for how long now?
Like 15 and a half years.
Okay. And part of being in law enforcement, you went through the academy, and so you've been trained in investigations and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And part of the idea of the investigation is you want to do the best you can to have a picture of a scene that you arrive at as it lay before it's disturbed. Fair?
That's fair.
And so things like when you're taking photos, you want to take a photo of, say, where a phone was at before you retrieved it, right?
Correct.
You want to take a picture of where a gun was at before you retrieved it and secured it.
Correct.
And when I say secure the scene, is that your understanding that that means you want to make sure that the scene remains unmolested, that things don't get moved or changed?
Yeah, to the best of our abilities, we try to.
Yeah. And so when you first arrived at the scene, you would have had Mr. Aaron Cooper there, correct?
Correct.
Miss Cooper, Karina,
Correct.
their children. How long total were you at the scene?
I think I left to go back to the sheriff's office around 7:06, so shortly after 7 in the morning.
And we know that Deputy Foster arrived on the scene as well, so he was there.
Correct.
And I believe EMS arrived as well. Who came from EMS?
It was 2 personnel with Traer.
Okay. And at that point, it's fair to say, isn't it, that the scene wasn't secured in the sense that people were stepping into the living room, presumably stepping into the blood, that sort of thing, right?
Yes, it was only people we allowed in, though.
Okay. And when it comes to something like a shell casing, those things can, and when they hit the ground, they can bounce, right?
Yeah, bounce, roll, yeah.
Okay. Can get kicked around if there's a lot of movement before people are actually looking for them, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so there's are a number of explanations for the displacement of the shell casing that wouldn't involve somebody picking it up, right?
Repeat that?
There are a number of reasons why a shell casing would be moved or come up missing, correct?
Yeah, they're not very big.
Yeah. I mean, you could fall in a cold air return or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I think you said maybe at most even the bullet itself would be the size of a pencil or something, right?
Yeah, the diameter is.
Yeah. And during that time, you had EMS show up. When did you start to take photographs?
I think I started, it was within 4 to 5 minutes of getting on scene.
Okay. How were you taking the photographs? With what? A camera?
My department issued work phone.
Okay. Did you ever shift to a camera?
I didn't know.
So you were using that same, for every photo that we saw that you were responsible for, you were taking that on your cell phone?
My work phone, yes.
Are you aware, were other photos taken by other individuals later that morning?
Deputy Foster took some photos. The ones I witnessed him take were with my phone. I assume the state took some. I don't know if other people from my department did or not.
Had you been inside this property before, this home?
No.
So as far as the status of windows locked or unlocked, doors locked or unlocked, this would have been a new experience for you to be at this home, fair?
Correct.
And you weren't there earlier that evening to know the status of any windows or doors or things like that, right?
Nope, the only thing I know is when I got there.
Okay. And there can be entry into a structure or home that is, I think the term used, an intruder, even without evidence of somebody having to break something, correct?
Correct.
There was some talk about the swiping. Basically what you saw is blood displaced on the floor, right?
Correct.
And how that displacement happened, it might have been a shoe, it might have been a barefoot, it could have been any number of things with the number of people that were at the scene. Fair?
Fair.
You have no idea, do you, how long it takes for blood to coagulate?
I know it's not instant, but whether it's 5, 10, half hour, I don't know.
Or even the number of seconds before it starts to change characteristics as soon as it's exposed to oxygen, right?
Yeah, it starts that process.
Right. You were, I think, part of the execution of some search warrants at the property. Is that fair?
Yes.
When you were executing those search warrants, did you find a diary or any writings of Miss Cooper?
No.
Did you examine any Kindles or books or anything like that to see what types of books she might have been reading?
No.
Did you examine any computers that were seized for emails or anything like that?
No.
So at the time that you were doing the investigation, when I speak of a diary or a journal, you don't have any pieces of paper, any notations, any documentations that show planning of any sort?
I don't know.
Okay. Or the time that Mr. Cooper was killed?
No.
No discussions about the manner in which Mr. Cooper was killed?
What do you mean?
No discussions in writing or documents or anything from your part of the investigation that would show an agreement of the manner of killing Mr. Cooper?
No.
Or discussions of the steps that were taken, in the words of Mr. Kodiaga, about a plot. Is that right?
I don't have any knowledge of that.
The photos that were taken, I think that was exhibits, kind of the 104 through 115. You remember those? Mr.
Yeah.
Kodiaga went through those with you. Do you know what time those were taken?
The ones I took were within the first 10 to 15 minutes. The couple that are in there that Deputy Foster took, those were probably closer to an hour afterwards.
Do you know which ones those are out of the exhibits that Mr. Deputy Foster took?
Yeah. They are 112, 113, and 114.
Can I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
all of them or just those three?
I just wanna see the ones you pulled.
Okay.
So exhibits 112 through 114, those are taken by Deputy Foster at least an hour after the photos that you took, right?
Yeah, somewhere in that.
So obviously any coagulation or any drying of blood at that point would be much more aged in those photos.
Correct.
Can you take a look at State's Exhibit 115, which I think is the last of that group?
Yeah.
Did you take that photo?
Yeah, I believe I did.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I remember looking at that cabinet or end table or whatever it is.
Now, when you take the photo on the phone, is that an iPhone or an Apple product?
It's an iPhone.
What time did you take that photo in Exhibit 115?
I'm not sure.
Were you taking photos around 6:21 a.m. as well?
I could have been. I'm not sure.
If there was you know how photos have kind of timestamps and dates and things like that, right?
Yeah.
There was nothing malfunctioning about the phone that you were using in that regard, was there?
No.
So if the timestamp and date reflected that date and 6:21 in the morning, you wouldn't have a reason to quibble with that, would you?
No, the phone timestamp would be accurate.
It was an ongoing investigation and you didn't leave the scene until roughly 7 o'clock or something.
Correct.
I think, Mr. Hawbaker, with that, we're right at noon, so, you about done?
I was going to say no further questions.
Well, even better.
Even better.
How much do you have? Okay, let's just finish this witness then. So, go ahead, Mr. Kodiaga.
Thank you, Judge. You were asked, Deputy, about the scene being disturbed, correct?
Correct.
What actions did you take to ensure that the scene was not disturbed?
We only allowed in personnel that we deemed essential, which would be the EMS and the investigator from the medical examiner's office. We tried to avoid stepping on the blood. We tried to avoid moving anything as much as possible. We did decide to move Ryan, obviously.
And why is it important not to disturb the scene?
Because once it's disturbed, you can't undisturb it.
Sometimes it helps to, if a scene is being disturbed, the evidence gets destroyed or gets misplaced, correct?
Correct.
When you arrived at the scene, you located Ryan Cooper dead, correct?
Correct.
But you did find the defendant sitting, as your video shown, on Ryan Cooper.
Correct.
You also did find her, as you testified and as the video shown, that she'd covered her face with the blood that was coming from Ryan Cooper.
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope of cross.
Overruled, you can answer the question.
I observed blood on her face. I can't testify to how it got there.
Does that blood being on her face, does that disturb the scene? Her actions of sitting and touching and moving Ryan Cooper disturb the scene?
It could, yes.
Was Aaron Cooper sitting on Ryan Cooper?
No,
Was Cade Cooper sitting on Ryan Cooper?
not that I saw.
Any of the other children moving or touching the dad who was dead?
Not that I saw.
Only the defendant was touching Ryan Cooper.
Correct.
You asked about electronics and items that were seized. Fair to say that a lot of electronics were seized from this house.
That a lot were?
That some electronics were seized from this house,
Yes.
including what you've testified to as the defendant's phone.
Correct.
You're not the person who's in charge of examining the contents of these electronics. Fair enough?
Say that again?
You are not the person in charge of doing a forensic examination of these electronics.
I am not, no.
In fact, as you testified, your department invited the DCI unit to come and help with the investigations.
Correct.
So this was a multi-department investigation taking place.
Correct.
And other officers were in charge of examining phones, examining items that were seized from these residents.
Yes.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Any recross, Mr. Hawbaker?
None, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down.